Deep within a cold, obsidian heart lies a secret that has been protected for an entire lifetime from the world. We break through the hard exterior to find the warmth of humanity that still beats within. Hit subscribe now and discover the mysteries hidden in the dark corners.
The email came in at 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, and I was already at my desk reviewing shipping manifests when it landed. Subject line: Q4 Logistics Performance Outstanding Results. My name was in the body, along with 11 other names. The core team that had spent the last 4 months rebuilding our entire regional distribution network from scratch. We had cut delivery failure rates from 14% down to 2.3%. We had renegotiated 3 carrier contracts, saving the company an estimated $1 million annually, and we had done it while absorbing a 30% volume spike nobody had planned for. I printed the email and set it on the corner of my desk. I had been with Hartwell Distribution for 19 years. I knew what a number like that meant for our year-end bonuses. My team knew too. The guys on the floor had been talking about it for weeks. Mortgages, kids' tuitions, a truck. My lead coordinator, Marcus, had been putting off buying for 2 years. Real things. Things people plan around. I should have known better than to let them plan. His name was Derek, the owner's nephew. He had arrived 8 weeks earlier with a title that hadn't existed the week before he showed up. Chief Optimization Officer and an office that used to be our break room. He was 31 years old, had an MBA from a school I won't name, and had apparently spent the previous 3 years at a consulting firm advising companies on supply chain efficiency. He had never actually run a route, never managed a warehouse shift, never called a carrier at 11 p.m. because a refrigerated truck broke down outside Amarillo with $400,000 worth of medical equipment on board. I had done all of those things, many times. The first morning he walked through our floor, he stopped beside my workstation and looked at the whiteboards I used to track carrier performance. 3 boards, color-coded, updated every morning by hand. "You're doing this manually," he said. "I'm doing it accurately," I said. He smiled the way people smile when they think they're being patient with someone older. "We'll get you set up with the right tools." I went back to my manifests. Over the following weeks, I watched him introduce himself to every vendor, every regional manager, every person who came through our building with any authority. He used words like end-to-end visibility and dynamic capacity modeling in meetings where the actual topic was whether we had enough dock workers for the Christmas rush. The regional managers from Dallas and Memphis would catch my eye across the conference table and look away quickly, the way people do when they're trying not to laugh. But Derek was the owner's nephew. And the owner, a man named Gerald Hartwell, who had built the company over 40 years and who I genuinely respected, had handed his nephew this title and this office and stepped back. Gerald was semi-retired. He came in twice a month, shook hands, asked about people's families, and left. He trusted his family. That part I understood. What I didn't understand was what happened on the afternoon of December 19th. Derek called a meeting for the full leadership team, 6 of us, plus 3 people from the finance department. I came in from the floor where Marcus and I had just finished verifying the last of our Q4 numbers. I was still holding a clipboard. Derek stood at the head of the table. He had a presentation on the screen slides with our Q4 metrics, which he had clearly pulled from the report my team submitted the week before. "So the numbers are strong," he said. "Really strong. The team did good work." Marcus caught my eye and gave me a small nod. "But," Derek continued, clicking to the next slide, "we're entering a recalibration phase. The board has approved a new investment in our TMS platform, and we're also looking at a structural reorganization in Q1. Given those capital commitments, we've made the decision to redirect the year-end bonus pool this cycle." The room went completely silent. I set my clipboard down on the table slowly. "Redirect," I said. "The funds will be reinvested into the technology infrastructure that's going to make everyone's jobs easier going forward," Derek said. He had prepared for this moment. His voice was steady. "I know it's not the news people were hoping for, but this is the kind of forward-thinking investment that—" "These bonuses were earned," I said. "The performance thresholds are written into our employment agreements. The team hit 2.3% failure rate against a 6% target. That's not a soft metric. That's a contractual benchmark." Derek looked at me the way he always looked at me, patient, slightly tired. "I understand the frustration, and I hear you, but the business needs flexibility too. I'd like to see the board resolution approving this reallocation," I said. There was a pause, a longer one than I expected. "That documentation is still being finalized," he said. I picked up my clipboard and left the meeting. I drove home that evening thinking about a conversation I'd had 19 years ago, the week I was hired. Gerald Hartwell had sat across from me in his office, the real office, not the break room, and we had negotiated my contract together. He was direct. He told me the base salary was fixed, but the performance structure was flexible, and he wanted me to have real upside if I delivered real results. We had gone back and forth for 40 minutes on the bonus clause language. I had pushed for specificity. He had respected that. What we landed on was unusual. If my division achieved performance metrics that exceeded the stated targets by more than 150%, the company was obligated to pay a bonus equal to 200% of my annual base salary. It was written in plain English on page 4 of my original employment contract. Gerald had initialed it himself. I had never triggered it before. In 19 years, we had hit our targets, sometimes exceeded them, but never by a margin that crossed that threshold, until now. 2.3% failure rate against a 6% target. That was a reduction of 61.7%. Our volume handling had exceeded projection by 30%. When I ran the composite performance calculation against the contract language that night at my kitchen table, the number was unambiguous. We were well past 150% above target. I pulled the original contract from my filing cabinet. I had kept it in a manila envelope with every amendment and addendum added over the years. I read page 4 3 times. Then, I called my attorney. She picked up on the second ring. I explained the situation. She asked me to scan and send the relevant pages. 20 minutes later, she called back. "This is enforceable," she said. "The language is specific. The benchmarks are measurable. And you have documentation of the Q4 results in a formal company report. If they refuse to pay, you have a claim." "I'm not going to sue the company," I said. "I've been here 19 years. "You don't have to sue anybody," she said. "You just have to present it correctly." I spent the next 3 days preparing. I pulled every piece of documentation I could assemble, the original Q4 performance report my team had submitted, the carrier data logs, the volume records, the customer satisfaction scores, the cost savings analysis. I built a packet that was 41 pages long and left nothing to interpretation. I had Marcus review the numbers independently without telling him why. He came back with the same figures. I also did something else. I sent a brief, professional email to Gerald Hartwell's personal assistant, a woman named Carol who had been with the company almost as long as I had, and asked if Gerald had 15 minutes for a call in the next week. I framed it as a year-end check-in. Carol wrote back the next morning. Gerald would be in the office on December 27th and could meet in person. That gave me 5 days. On the morning of December 26th, Derek stopped by my office. "I wanted to follow up on the meeting," he said. "I know the bonus news was hard. I genuinely respect everything your team accomplished this quarter." "I appreciate you saying that," I said. "I want to make sure we're aligned going into Q1. There's a restructuring plan I'm putting together, and I see a real role for your experience in it." He paused. "I think there's a path to a VP title here, if you're open to the conversation." I looked at him for a moment. "Let's talk after the new year," I said. "I have a meeting with Gerald tomorrow." Something shifted in his expression. Just slightly. Gerald's more in an advisory capacity these days. Major operational decisions flow through. "I know," I said. "It's just a check-in." He left. I stayed at my desk and finished preparing my packet. Gerald Hartwell's office looked the same as it had 19 years ago. Same oak desk, same framed photo of the original warehouse on Route 9, a building that was now our smallest satellite facility. He was 72 and moved a little slower than he used to, but when he shook my hand, his grip was the same. "Good to see you," he said. "Carol tells me you've had a strong quarter." "That's actually what I wanted to talk to you about," I said. I set the packet on his desk and walked him through it page by page. The Q4 results, the specific metrics, the contract language from page 4, the calculation. I didn't editorialize. I didn't mention Derek by name for the first 15 minutes. I just presented the facts in order. Gerald read slowly. He asked 3 questions, all of them precise, all of them about the numbers. He was, at his core, a businessman who understood data. When I got to the section explaining that the bonus pool had been redirected, I told him exactly what Derek had said in the meeting, word for word as best I could recall. Gerald was quiet for a long moment. "He said the board approved it?" Gerald asked. "He said the board had approved a capital reallocation. When I asked for documentation, he said it was still being finalized." Gerald picked up his phone and dialed a 2-digit extension. "Janet, can you pull the board resolutions from the last 90 days and bring them to my office?" He set the phone down and looked at me. "Give me a few minutes." Janet arrived 8 minutes later with a thin folder. Gerald reviewed it without speaking. Then he set it down and looked out the window for a moment. "There's no board resolution approving a bonus reallocation," he said. I didn't think there was, I said. He looked at the contract page again. He had initialed it himself. He remembered. I could see it in his face. How many people on your team have similar bonus provisions, he asked. Not the same clause, mine was negotiated individually. But 8 people on the core team have standard performance bonuses written into their agreements, all tied to the same Q4 metrics. Gerald nodded slowly. He picked up his phone again and asked Carol to get Derek on the line. I started to stand. I can step out if... Sit down, Gerald said. Not unkindly, just firmly. The call lasted 11 minutes. I heard Derek's voice through the phone, initially confident, then careful, then quiet. Gerald spoke in the measured way of someone who has run a business for 4 decades and has no patience left for wasted time. He did not raise his voice once. He didn't need to. After he hung up, Gerald sat back in his chair and looked at me. Your bonus will be processed by end of week, he said, along with the standard performance bonuses for your team. He paused. All of them, including the floor staff, tied to those metrics. I hadn't asked for the last part. He added it on his own. Thank you, I said. I owe you an apology, Gerald said. I should have been paying closer attention. I didn't say anything to that, it wasn't my place. Derek will be moving into a different role, Gerald added, one better suited to his background. He said it the way you say something you've already decided and don't want to discuss further. I nodded. One more thing, Gerald said. He leaned forward. I'd like to talk about formalizing your role. Director of Regional Operations. Full authority over carrier strategy and distribution infrastructure. He named a number. I thought about it for a moment. Not long. But a moment. I appreciate that, I said. And I'll take the role if you still want to offer it after Q1. But right now, what I'd like to do is go back to the floor and make sure Marcus and the team hear the news directly from me. Gerald looked at me for a second, then smiled. The real kind, not the patient kind. Go ahead, he said. Marcus was at his workstation when I walked back in. 2 other guys from the team, Rodrigo and Dave, were nearby, running end-of-day checks. I stopped in the middle of the floor. Bonuses are coming, I said. All of them. Floor staff included. End of week. Marcus put his hand flat on his desk and looked at the ceiling for a second. Rodrigo said something in Spanish I didn't catch but understood. I walked back to my office, sat down, and looked at my whiteboards. 3 boards, color-coded, updated every morning by hand. I picked up the marker and started writing Friday's carrier schedule. Some people spend their whole careers waiting for the right moment to use what they know. The trick, I've found, is to spend those years making sure you actually know it. Every detail, every number, every page of every document you signed. Because the people who cut corners count on you not knowing. And the day you show them you do quietly, completely, without raising your voice, is the day the whole calculation changes. I finished the schedule, capped the marker, and went back to work.